Hi everyone, this is Janelle with Waypoint Realty, and I have the amazing Phil Kaprow here with me. He is a real estate attorney extraordinaire. So Phil, thank you so much for joining us. And today our topic is going to be why the census is important for home buying. And in general, why is it important to take the census and submit the request that the US government is asking us to do? So Phil, tell us a little bit about the importance of the census and what you see.
Well, thank you so much for having me on today, Janelle. I normally work as an attorney, commercial and residential real estate with Kilgore, Perlman, Samani, Denny's, and Squires. But I also serve this year as the county chairman for the Seminole County Complete Count Committee for the U.S. Census.
Okay.
Basically, they're like a booster club, right?
Yeah.
We're not the ones going out and going door to door, but we are helping promote the importance of the census. And that is part of the reason why I'm here today.
Okay.
Taking the census is so important and it's so easy to do. All of the federal dollars that come into a state and into an area are based off of those census numbers, and it's only taken once every 10 years.
Right.
And so it goes, right? And so that, even though they estimate in between, it's really critical to not only congressional seats, but also to the school dollars, to the road dollars. And I'll tell you, even this morning, I was reading an article that was posted by one of the local news stations. Seminole County just missed out on personal protective equipment because they were 30,000 residents short of being able to qualify for a CARES Act loan. And because of that, whereas Orange County is able to hand out sanitizers and masks for small businesses, Seminole County doesn't have that option, at least not through federal dollars. And
why do you think that Seminole County was so low in the submission versus Orange County, which is our neighboring county?
Well, I think it has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the response rate. In fact, Seminole County has a higher percentage response rate than Orange County, but every single person responding to the census matters. The numbers we're using today are based from 10 years ago. So because we're doing the count now and those numbers don't become official and formalized until the end of the year.
And we've grown so much as a county in the last decade. So obviously those numbers are definitely skewed.
Tremendously, yes. In fact, so because of that, we want to make sure that the numbers are as high as possible. And throughout the county, we have areas that we call hard to count. Those are areas where there's a lower response rate. And I have some graphics I can show you if you'd like.
Yeah, let's pull that up.
Okay. So first, let me give you a couple of numbers.
Okay.
And from a response rate, you have, we break these down by the county overall and then by the cities. So in Florida, 56.2% as of yesterday responded.
Okay.
District 7 is the congressional district, so that's parts of Seminole and Orange County. Okay. 61.4% for that. And then the county itself is at 64.7%. So that means that almost 2 out of every 3 households have already responded to the census. But then when you start breaking it down by area, you'll see, Altamont Springs had a 58.3% response so far. The city of Sanford has 52.9%, whereas Oviedo's on the high end with 74 and Winter Springs is 72. The reason why that's important is we know that there are certain response rates that are going to be lower than others because people are either don't understand what the census does,
right,
or they don't understand that when they fill out the census information, that information remains private and confidential to anybody other than the person who filled it out for 72 years. So there's a concern that people are going to have their information going out there, but it's just not the case.
I think you're absolutely right, because I have heard people saying that they are very suspicious of the information that's going out there. They want to submit the absolute least if they have to. But if I'm not mistaken, isn't it kind of like a federal mandate that you have to do this? Because if not, they will show up at your house.
Oh yeah, no, it is the law. It is the law. It's in the Constitution. It's the law. And they will go door to door to try to get the information to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
The good news is that coronavirus should not stop you from filling out the census. You can go to census2020.org and complete the census in about 4 minutes. It's like 4 questions or 5 questions. It takes no time at all. And the you just heard the implications of not doing it is we're gonna miss out on money that's available.
Absolutely.
And whether you believe the money should be there or not, whether or not you believe it's the federal government's job to put that money down in the area, if it's there and you don't take it, that's just taking money and tossing it down the drain.
Absolutely. So it's funny you mentioned that, because actually one of my real estate agents, she lives in Sanford, and she said that basically she has to have a 2-minute conversation every single day because they've chosen and selected her as kind of like the spokesperson for a specific target market, which I thought was very interesting. And it was for real estate agents to track how are real estate agents performing in this area at this time. So is that common? Do they usually target certain people to demonstrate statistically what an area looks like, or a specific profession?
Well, yes. So the complete count committee that I chair has approximately 30 people from across the county, all kinds of demographics, all walks of life, all types of professions. And so we have outreach that we do either through faith-based or professional education. We also have what's called trusted voices. The trusted voices are the people that are not necessarily on the committee, but people we reach out to go into those hard to count communities. So in an area that's not trusting of the government, right, or a traditionally poor area, or a traditionally susceptible area to concerns of a mid 40s white Caucasian demographic,
Right.
My going in there and telling them about the census is not going to be received well, if at all. And so we have people like the local grocery store owner, or the local pastor, or the local teacher that says, hey, it's okay to do this, and it's not a bad thing, it's actually a good thing.
So what was the normal cutoff deadline for the U.S. Census?
So originally, Census Day is April 1st, and we would have continued getting responses through June 30th, I believe, but they have since extended it because of everything going on until August 31st.
Oh, wow.
So,
additional 2 months.
Yeah, they have extended that, and then they've extended the compilation data time. They still have their absolute hard deadlines that exist through the federal government and the Constitution, because they have to be able to take those numbers from this year to set their new congressional district lines by the early part of next year, so that they are ready for the election in 2022.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about, now that we've seen some of these numbers and we see the census, what is the importance of the census in regards to purchasing a home? How does this affect real estate?
Well, so it affects real estate because, like everything else, you want to live in the best location, right? That's what they always say.
Right.
And you can glean information from the census, right? Areas where there are lower response rates are less likely to have every federal dollar available to it. And so your roads may not be as nice, your schools may not be as well taken care of. You may have neighbors that are distrusting of your government and you. And it may look like every other street in the country. It's simply a source of information. There's no scientific, correlation between saying if you're in a low response tract that you're gonna, have a bad house, but there are certain just natural implications that come from areas where you see a lot lower responsiveness. So, for example, if I were to pull up the city of Oviedo's tract, you'll see the area closer out to Geneva is much more rural, and their response rate is ridiculously low by comparison to closer to the downtown areas.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that follows the same trend of, most folks I know that like to live out on big acreages, they do it for the same reason why I stay home most of the time. They don't like people, right? And so they don't want to be around other people, and they're not going to trust anybody that comes to their door. And so for that reason, they're not going to be as likely to fill something like this out.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, I do have friends that are skeptical. I live on 5 acres, so I'm part of that rural community, and I actually love it. And I'll tell you, it's almost like how much information is too much information? What do they utilize? So I can understand. I understand the skepticism behind it, but I do know how invaluable it is to be able to utilize the census statistic information to be able to do studies and different things that they do, not just in real estate, but it absolutely affects real estate. So I do understand the importance of that, and I think especially for the dollars that come in for school zones and for, restructuring of, the streets or the areas or whatever the case may be. I know that that is a huge part of the census. So I think, yes, we have both sides. We do have the skeptical ones and lower, but I love my rural community. So,
and there's nothing wrong with the rural community.
That. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I live on a half acre, but
you're right.
You're right. I live on a half acre, and that's I would not be comfortable downtown. Right. My wife loves New York City.
Yeah.
There's plenty of reasons why I don't. You can see it right now.
Right.
But there's such a thing as too many people. But the other thing that the census does, obviously, is it gives you some basic general information. You know,
it's great.
Realtors, when they start putting together their information packets to provide to their prospective buyers or sellers even, are going to identify things like median income, median education level, median age, how many people are in a average family size in the area, and so you have to get that information from somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's the first spot for it to go. So if I have a choice of giving it to a place where the information is going to be hidden for 72 years versus meaning to the public,
right,
they'll get the data, but not the personal information.
Sure.
As compared to saying, somebody who picks up the phone and calls and says, "Hey, I have a couple of questions for you," and they're not with the census. If I'm distrusting, I'm going to be more likely to do that first, the census, not the one on the call.
So you mentioned something that's really interesting, and we can kind of, unless you have anything additional, we can close with this. But basically what I'm saying is this is a federal mandate. You have to do the census. I know people are skeptical about it, but like you said, the personal data, the personal information of the person submitting this information is confidential. But we do need those numbers. It really does help statistically for the next decade to be able to do a lot of the research and a lot of the stuff that cities need. But you're right. When it comes to purchasing homes, a lot of people want to know, like, is this a really condensed area? Are there a lot of people living there? Because I may want to be a little further out, or I do want to be in the middle of the hustle and bustle in the city, and I love, condo or penthouse living. I want to be on top of each other, but that's really important. And that stuff kind of comes with the census and those numbers and being able to measure the statistical value of each of the areas. So is there anything else that people should know about the census and the importance of submitting that information, aside from the fact that you have to?
Well, if you haven't done it yet, please use this as the incentive to go do it. And it's once every 10 years, so it only takes a couple minutes, and it sets a good role model for your kids. And it, if you've done it, tell others that you've done it, because that will help give them a sense of confidence to do it as well. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover with that particular thing. I want to tell you a little bit about the gift basket that we have.
Yes, let's talk about it.
So the census has a very limited budget, and the county has even a smaller budget. But a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from one of our people on the census side, the actual counter side, and they said, "We have a bunch of extra stuff, and do you want any of it?" I'm like, "Yes." So I went through the list, and I'm like, "Oh, this looks interesting. This looks interesting." And so I made a list of the things. I said, "This is my wish list. What can you send me?" And I just got an email a week and a half ago saying, "Hey, we're going to be sending you some stuff. You'll be there in 5 to 9 days."
That's awesome.
And I started looking not only at the items, it's like a privacy webcam cover, right? Because we don't trust anybody.
Put tape on there, so that's going to be nice.
Right. Notepads. I think there's some draw bags. The quick backpack stuff. Some water bottles, that kind of stuff. But so I was like, "Oh, this is great." And then I started looking at the quantities, because I told them to send it to my house, not knowing where I was going to be at that point.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting like 500 webcam privacy covers. So
oh my
depending on the number of people that come out, we may just send one to everybody that signed up today if they want to drop you a PM with their contact information.
Yeah.
Because what we're going to do with the rest of the stuff is we're going to take it up to the schools. I've already worked out with the school boards.
Fantastic.
And they're going to put it out with the free lunch packages that they're putting out to families as well. So
Thank you for that. So anybody who comments on this, any questions that you have or any comments in general, we'll go ahead and give you guys some of these goodies because this is fantastic that Phil's doing this. I do want you guys to stay tuned. The next 2 weeks are going to be awesome. It's our Ask Anything of Phil Kaprow. So this is going to be awesome because we have a lot of questions that we have lined up for him and his team. You have someone coming in on the 27th. Is that right?
That's correct. Christine Tucker, one of the associates of my firm from the estate planning and administration.
And we will have the live setup ready to go for that. So I want to make sure you guys tune in for that. This is going to be really cool to be able to get free legal advice or at least answers to questions that we all have. So we hope that you guys will mark your calendars and stay tuned for that. And thank you guys for tuning into this session. So we hope that this was really helpful for you guys. Have a great day.